Hello, folks. So this week we're going to take a look at Spanish Fandango. One of the first things that we're going to want to do is tune our ukulele. I am actually going to be tuning my A string down one whole step. So my A string and my G string should sound exactly the same. So I can do that by ear, by playing both of those strings at the same time and turning my A string down until those two strings match. That A string kind of disappears into the G string, I know that I'm right, or should be right, assuming that everything is in tune, and that's what we have tuners for, to double check these things. So I'm going to go ahead and play through all of my strings and make sure that all of them are in tune here. So this is my first string, which I've now tuned down to a G. Oh, that's pretty close. Cool. Next I've got my E string, my second string. And then C string. Okay. And then fourth string is G. Like so. Okay. So once all of your strings are tuned, from your first string, you should have a G, E, C, G. So basically what we've done is we've turned all of our open strings into a C chord. By turning that A string down to a G, all of our open strings now just make a C chord instead of a C6 chord. So everything, all of our notes on the A string have to move up 2 frets now. So normally I would be playing my C major chord on the 3rd fret of the A string, but now if I wanted to play a C major chord, I have to play on the 5th fret. Because if I play on the 3rd fret now, I get that C7. So it's a little bit weird. Why would we do this? Well, it's going to open up new possibilities. Now we can play major chords all across the neck with just one finger. So C is all of my strings open, that's just a regular old C chord. All of my fingers across the 2nd fret, now that's just a D chord, a regular old D. Across the 4th fret, that's just a regular old E chord. 5th fret would be an F, and 7th fret would be a G. Because we are climbing up pretty high on the frets, we want to make sure that we're comfortable with the numbers, what our fret numbers are. We're going to be having to get up to those higher numbers. 5, 7, 9 are going to be the big ones that we're going to be using and have to go to quickly. So we want to kind of make sure that we get our bearings on those frets in particular pretty quickly here. The 5th fret is marked with a dot there, a fret marker, as is the 7th fret. And on my ukulele here, the 10th fret is marked, but I can find the 9th fret very easily by just moving down 1 fret. Also, if I know where the 5th fret is and I know where the 7th fret is, I can figure out the 9th pretty quickly, right? I can just, okay, I'm just skipping frets at this point, and I don't really have to think too much about that. But getting your bearings using these fret markers is really, really helpful. Most ukuleles also have fret markers on the top of the neck here. So the same ones that you would see on the fret should be marked right there. So especially as we're going up to those higher frets, use those fret markers as your guide. That is, of course, if you haven't already been doing so. So I've broken this song up into sections. I've broken up it into sections A through E. Each section kind of builds on the last one. So we definitely want to take this like one little chunk at a time. Don't be afraid to just like sit down with section A and spend a few days on it or spend a week on it before moving on to the next section. There are a lot of parts, and it's basically just playing with the theme. The A section kind of establishes a particular feel. We're going to see certain patterns arise in section A, and then we're just going to do variations of that basically throughout the rest of the piece. So getting section A down, getting very comfortable with section A will be a great way to prepare yourself for the rest of the song. So spend as much time as you need on each section. All right, so section A. We're going to be using a finger-picking technique here with our strumming hand. So what I'm doing for this song is I am using my thumb on the G string, my index finger on the C string, my middle finger on the E string, and my ring finger on the A string. Kind of do that sort of feel for just to warm up, plucking with my thumb, index, middle, ring, just to kind of get my bearings. Now this alone already sounds really nice. This is one of the benefits of playing with what we would call an open tuning, where all of our open strings make a particular chord. And with that as my bass, I can play melodies over that very simple, pleasant bass. It kind of frees up a lot of my voicings, so I can focus on playing a melody, and I don't have to think so much about, oh, am I holding down all the right notes to make this the right chord? All right, let's look at what the pattern of the plucking pattern of this song is. So we're going to start by plucking the outside strings. So our first string and fourth string, we're going to pluck those together. So I'm using my thumb and my ring finger to do that. So again, I'm plucking the outside strings with my thumb and ring finger. And then I pluck the C string with my index finger. And then the E string with my middle finger. So you might want to spend some time just playing that with all of your strings open like this. Nice and comfortable with that pattern, because that pattern is basically going to be the same throughout most of this piece. You're going to be playing that same pattern. We're in 3/4 time, so we're counting in groups of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So with some variations, we're going to be playing that pattern throughout. So, if you're ready to move on, we can go ahead and do that. I'm going to look ahead at the music here, and I'm going to see that I am going to be playing the 9th fret of my first string, followed by the 7th fret of my first string, my 5th fret of the first string, and then open. Now I'm going to have to put that plucking pattern underneath all of those notes, but I'm going to start off by just looking at what the melody is doing. So that highest note of those first 4 measures. I'm going to start off by just taking those first 4 measures and playing that 9th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret, and then open. Just, again, to kind of get my bearings. Letting my fretting hand figure out where it's going and get really comfortable playing all of these notes up here, these frets. So my pinky is playing the 9th fret. My middle finger is fretting the 7th fret. And my index finger is fretting the 5th fret. So once I've got that first section of the melody worked out, then I'm going to try and throw that pattern in. So again, I'm holding down the 9th fret of my first string, and I can actually put my other fingers in place because we're only going to hear the highest fret that I'm holding down. So I can just hold down the 7th fret and the 5th fret. So I'm ready to go. All I have to do to play this melody is just lift up my finger when I get to the next note. So I'm going to be plucking the outside strings, then I pluck C, and then I pluck E. Okay, and that's the first measure. I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So outside strings first, open C, open E. Feel free to just hang out on any one of these measures for a while. Just get your bearings again. Okay, so once we've played that 9th fret, I can lift up my pinky and play that same pattern again. And I can play the 5th fret. Again, I'm just lifting up my middle finger because my pointer finger was already there. And then in the 4th measure, all of my strings are open. So let's take those first 4 measures again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to play that again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So let's take a look at the next 4 measures. Measures 5 and 6. I'm going to be holding down the 2nd fret of the C string and the 1st fret of the E string here. And again, I'm playing that same pattern, so I'm plucking the outside strings, then I pluck the C string and the E string. But now I'm holding down, again, the 2nd fret of the C and the 1st fret of the E. And I play that pattern 2 times. And then, measures 7 and 8, I'm back to my open strings. I'm going to go back to measure 1 and play those first 8 measures all together now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. If we move on to the next row, measures 9 through 12 are the same as 1 through 4. So we can kind of move through that pretty quickly, right? Starting on measure 9. 1, 2, 3. Measures 13 and 14 are familiar because they're the same measures as 5 and 6. Once again, I've got my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the C and index finger on the 1st fret of the E. I'm playing this shape. Okay, now measures 15 and 16. Here's the first time we deviate from that same plucking pattern that we've been doing the whole time. Similar, measure 15 is similar. This time I'm plucking the G string, or yeah, my 4th string and my 3rd string together. Then I play the E string, then my 1st string, open, and then I'm going to be playing this C chord. And that C chord I am now playing with my pinky on the 5th fret of my 1st string. Now let's watch what my strumming hand is doing when I play that. I am playing this by plucking those 2 strings together. In measure 15, I'm plucking my 4th and 3rd string with my thumb and index finger respectively. And then I'm plucking the 2nd string with my middle finger, 1st string with my ring, with the same assignments that I've been playing all those. But that chord at the end of all of these sections are a sweeping downstroke. And I want my finger to glide off of those. I don't want to strum it so fast that all of the notes sound out almost all at once. I want to glide and kind of be able to hear each one of those notes individually as I slide through. I don't want to go too slow. I don't want to do that. I don't want them to sound like individual notes. I still want it to sound like a chord, but I want that to kind of like chord reveal itself slowly. All right, let's go back to measure 1 and play through all 16 of these measures. 1, 2, 3. Already that is a really sweet sounding piece. There's a lot going on there, but you're not having to do a whole lot, even if this technique might feel a little bit new to you. This pinching the outside strings and then plucking your inside strings. Even if that feels a little odd at first, once you get that down, you're gonna get a lot of mileage out of that picking pattern. Let's take a look at the 2nd section, the B section here. So here we're looking at measures 17 through 32. We're starting off with the chord shape that we've seen before. I'm playing the 2nd fret of the C and 1st fret of the E. And that's actually just a G7 chord. Sounds pretty cool. So, same picking pattern as before. So we've got 2 measures of that G7, and then I'm playing my open strings again for 2 measures. So I'll play those again. We're going to play measures 17 through 20. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Measures 21 through 24, same thing. We're going to play that G7 for 2 measures, and then open C for 2 measures. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, measures 25 through 28 are going to be familiar, but now we're going backwards. So our melody, instead of going at 9, 7, 5 open, we're going to go 5, 7, 9 open. Our melody is going to climb up to the 9th fret and then drop to our open string. So let's try that out. This is going to be measures 25 through 28. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Might want to try that a few times. I'm going to play it again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. The next few measures are where we start getting a little tricksy here. So we're going to start off with our G7 chord that we know now. So nothing weird about that. It's this next measure that things get a little odd. I'm adding the 2nd fret of my 1st string now. So now my chord shape is what you know as the G7 chord. But now it's actually a G9. So I pluck those outside strings, so I'm plucking the open 4th string and 2nd fret of the 1st string. I pluck my C string, and now I'm going to lift up my fingers and play the open 1st and 2nd strings. So you'll see that on the tab. So that little move, getting your fingers off for that 3rd beat of measure 30, and then we go into measure 31, and measure 32, which is the same ending as section A. But that measure 30 is the one that you're going to want to watch out for. Again, at this point, I don't even need to hold down my index finger on the 1st fret of the E, because in measure 30, I don't play the 1st fret of the E. So I can lift that finger up. That finger's already out of the way. And go ahead and play the rest of the row. Making note of those spots that are a little bit trickier, that might require a little bit of extra practice, and you can repeat that little section over and over again a few times before adding it into the mix. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to play measures 29 through 32, and I'm going to do that a couple times just so I can practice that transition. So measure 29, I'll count us off. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Section C. Here's where we start barring. Actually, I am going to get myself tuned back up, because I am slip-sliding out of tune here. Okay, section C, measure 33. So here we are playing with those bars. So I'm going to have to bar down all of my strings on the 5th fret. That's measures 33 and 34. And again, I'm going to be playing that same pattern. But first, I just want to get my bearings with the bar. So I'm going to be playing the 5th fret for 2 measures. Then I play my open strings for 2 measures. Then I go to the 7th fret for 2 measures. And back to open for 2 measures. So I might just try that, just strumming these chord shapes a couple times before I worry about playing it in time or with the picking pattern. Measures 33, 34, measure 35, measure 36, measure 37, measure 38, measure 39, measure 40. And once I feel comfortable, I know where I'm going, and I'll apply the plucking, the picking pattern to that. It's nice that I've got those open chords in between too, because that's going to give me time to reposition my finger, right? Okay, so I'll count us off. I'm starting off on measure 33, so I'm barring the 5th fret here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 7th. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Open. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's very likely that you're going to find that 7th fret is tight quarters, especially to play all that with one finger. Don't be afraid to kind of let your finger fall back over the 6th fret a little bit there. As long as you're making good contact with the 7th fret, it's okay if your finger is spilling over into the 6th fret. Because again, remember, only the highest fret is going to be heard. So it's okay if the fleshy part of my finger here is rolling over into the 6th fret a little bit, as long as I am making good contact across the 7th fret. I don't have to worry. And the same thing goes for the 5th fret, but the 5th fret is a little bit bigger, so at least my finger doesn't have too much trouble with that. But up at that 7th fret, I definitely do. So that's where I'm going to have to play some games and adjust my finger a little bit and see what works best for you. All right, I'm going to play measures 33 through 40 again. So this is the first row of section C. Starting off with the bar across the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Measure 41. It's the same idea, but now we're barring the 4th fret. So if I kind of look ahead, I can see, okay, I'm barring the 4th fret for 2 measures, the 5th fret for 2 measures, 7th fret for 2 measures, and then I'm doing that same ending that I did in sections A and B. So I'm going to try this out. I'm going to go from measure 41 to 48. I'll count us off. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'm going to leave it there for now. We've got sections A, B, and C, and then there are 2 more sections, D and E, that I'll cover in a later video. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to take in, and this should give you plenty of practice with that new plucking pattern, the pinching the outside strings and then plucking the inside strings in succession. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So the key to the piece is getting that down, right? Now, even if I was in my standard tuning, if I tune back up to C, first string back up to A, and I'm back in my normal tuning where 3rd fret of the A string gives me my C chord here. Even if I'm in my normal tuning, I can still practice that plucking pattern. Practice that pattern. I could play that pattern on any chord. As I said before, we'll take a look at the last 2 sections of this song in another video. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are staying safe. And I hope you're having fun. So if you have any questions, please email me at tinyvillagemusic@gmail.com, or if you want to let me know what songs you're working on right now, I'd love to hear about it. So thank you again so much, and I will talk to you again next week. Take care.